start recording this. And so we will rewrite, and that should tell you enough at this point. We're going to graph on our calculator. We're going to find all the intercepts. That's using our TI-84. We're going to find the y value when x is equal to 7, and we're going to find the x value when y is equal to 10. Okay, so we're basically going to do a bunch of operations and functions, and along the way there's going to be a lot of nuances that you're going to be exposed to. Hopefully, I actually designed them in such a way that you will have to make changes, and so we'll go. And if you're a little frustrated at first, that is normal. You know, within a couple of days, like after today, I'm going to give you a bunch of equations to try, and so you want to go through them and really get to know your calculator, so that you familiarize yourself with its functions, where the buttons are, and so forth. Okay. So while you're writing this down, I'm just gonna pause the recording. All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do question 1A here. Okay, we're just gonna focus on 1A. We're gonna rewrite this part. So 1A, I in a sense, right? So we're gonna rewrite this equation so that it looks like y equals mx plus b. So this negative 6x is going to come over adding. So I already just show that step here. Okay, you divide both sides by 2, and you get y is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3x plus 30 divided by 2 is 15. So that should be the first step. Second step is going to be to graph it. Okay, so you take your calculator, turn it on. See if I can make it a little brighter. There we go. Going second arrow up every time will make your screen brighter, although that will cost you battery life. Okay, so we're gonna press. Now that we have rewritten it, we can graph it on our calculator. So press y equals. Okay, I have a bunch of stuff in there, and hopefully you do too, right? Most likely you will have stuff. So you can graph up to 10 lines at a time. So if you keep just going arrow down, it goes all the way to y sub 0, which is really the 10th line that you're graphing. There should be nothing on those. So we're gonna just go arrow up or down until the cursor is basically on y1 here, right after the equal sign, and you just press clear. Okay, so you go press clear, go arrow down, press clear, arrow down, clear, and you just keep clearing everything that you see on all the y's. Okay, so that you have nothing in there. Another important thing is your calculator most likely will have plot 1 highlighted like that. Okay, we don't want that. There's a time and a place where we use plot 1, and I will explain to you when we get there. But when you're typing an equation manually here, you want to turn that off. So go all the way arrow up, and then hit enter. So I will show you again. Okay, so Mark is saying, wait a minute. That's okay. I'm going to go second mode to quit and bring me to the main screen again. Okay, just to show you again. Once you're in the home screen, it doesn't matter which screen you're in really. As soon as you press y equals up here, okay, press y equals, you should see this screen. Okay, that's what should be present. You wanna, using arrows up and down, you wanna make sure that whatever's in those Y's is cleared. So how you do that is you just press clear, this button right here, right? Clear is right here. So just press clear and then arrow down, clear, and just repeat that until all of these are completely blank. Does that make sense? The line where it says plot 1 looks different on your calculator. This may look a little different. Just make sure you go all the way up and hit enter on plot 1. Does that make sense? Yeah. Even if it looks different, do you still see plot 1 though, Mina? Okay, just make sure. See, some students probably change the appearance. They go into settings and so forth, and that may cause it to look a little different. But you should still see plot 1, 2, or 3 up here, no matter what. If all else fails, let me just see 1 second here. If all else fails, you press the reset button back here. The back of your calculator has a little reset button. So if you press and hold that, like let's say your settings are significantly different than mine, you press and hold. I'm going to press and hold it for a couple of seconds and then let go. Then you go back, turn it on. It will do this, validating OS, RAM cleared. And so this is what you see. If you press clear at this point, you should see all of this. Okay, that's what you see. The only problem now is going to be your settings. Remember the settings at the very beginning of your notes, we had changed some of them, like the stat wizard and whatnot. So I actually am doing this to make sure you can follow. So if you go mode, press mode, we want degrees. So you got to go to that row and highlight degree. You want to make sure all the way down here, stat diagnostic is off and stat wizard. Stat diagnostic is turned off by default. Stat wizard, you also want to turn off. Okay. So now you make sure your screen, like your settings should look exactly like this. Where do you go? You press mode to set these ones to what it should be. I'm going to exit the screen by pressing second mode, which essentially quits to the home screen. When you reset, all of this will be turned off and cleared, but don't reset it every time, because once you have all the settings the way it should be, you don't want to reset because it's going to affect everything else. Okay, so that's just like now for the beginning of the semester, we do that once if you'd like. If somebody has changed the appearance and added stuff, you want to get rid of it. Some students are quite savvy and they go into all the settings. I would not recommend that, because then you're stuck on a test because it's conflicting with other stuff that we're working on. So anyways, plot 1 all of these should be deselected, so none of them should be highlighted. All of this should be clear. Okay. All right. Now you press. We're gonna enter this equation right here, and you got to watch carefully. Okay. So this equation, we're gonna enter that. So you're gonna press 3. As soon as you start pressing, watch what happened to that equal sign. It highlights. That means that it's activated and it will attempt to graph whatever expression we're entering. The X button is right here, folks. I'm hovering over it with my pencil. That's your variable X button. Do not press times because that will not be correct. So 3x plus 15, like that. And now you can hit enter if you'd like, then it will go to the next row, but we're not going to enter anything into that row. And now I want you to hit graph. Okay, everybody hit graph. As soon as you've entered that, you hit graph. I see it. If you're a student that just hit reset with me and did the whole resetting, you will see it. If you are a student that did not reset your screen, you most likely, so don't panic if you don't see anything right now. Okay, don't panic. I'm going to walk you through it. If you're not seeing anything right now, no line, nothing. Okay, you want to press zoom. Okay, this is going to solve a lot of issues that you'll be having, whether it be an error on the window or you're not seeing your graph. Press zoom. Okay, everybody just do it regardless if you see it or not. I see 2 dots on my graph. Okay, Mark, if you see dots, then plot is turned on yours. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if you're a student that sees dots or something, let's just all do this. So go press Y equal again, because you can jump between these, okay? Press Y equal, go all the way to the top and make sure none of those plots is highlighted. That's very important. Plot 1, plot 2, plot 3, all deselected. Did you get that, Mark? Hit enter. When you're hovering over it, just hit enter, it will deselect it. Okay, now hit graph again. If you don't see anything, don't panic because that's the next step that I'm going to show you, okay? Everybody press zoom. Everybody press zoom and then look at what the 6th option says. They're all zoom, so Z something. So Z standard, zoom standard is what we're going to select. So you either go arrow down to option 6 and then hit enter, or just press number 6. They both do the same thing. Press 6. Now you should all see what's on your screen. Okay, you should all see. So I will make this easy because I will be confused if I ask who sees something. Can you type in if you're not seeing this right now, the same thing that I'm seeing right now? Can you type it in here and I'll try to figure it out what it is that is not working for you. So if you're not seeing it, please type in not, right? Or can't see anything. Don't be shy, right? It's important that you follow. So if you can't see anything, let me know, type it in. I've done this many years, so I kind of know what you might have done wrong. Really? We all are seeing this? That would be great, but don't feel bad if you're not seeing it. Okay. This is the first time I've done this live, that's for sure. All right. The black dot on the center. Yeah, that's you go ahead and do that, everybody. As soon as you start pressing the arrows, okay, you can actually move that cursor wherever you want and look at the coordinates. Like as soon as that thing appears, it will give you the exact coordinates of where that would be. So you can kind of approximate, like if you want to know what the x-intercept is, you can just kind of get as close as you can on it, and we can kind of assume that this is going to be -5, 0, right? We can kind of, but we're not going to use this a whole lot, folks. This, you're just freelancing right now, okay? All right, good question. Keep them coming. I'm going to try to catch them. Okay, now, folks, we need to find the intercepts, right? We already know the question is coming. Find the intercepts. So, oh, I reset it, mine. That's why my screen went back darker. Okay, I was wondering already why. So what you need to do now is we're not seeing, even though it's there, we're not seeing the y-intercept, which is way up here. We're not seeing the y-intercept. We are seeing the x-intercept, but we're not seeing the y-intercept, which is up here somewhere. So that's where you need to go to your window. The bottom is y min, right? So the lower you set your y min, the more you're going to see downward. This is your y max limit. The higher you set your y max limit, the more the screen is going to show you above on the positive y, right? Similarly, this is x min and that's x max. So the only thing that I would see necessary to change right now is our y max, okay? Because it's not showing, we need to see more above it. So follow me, okay? Hey, Jason, they're there. Okay, window, press window, everybody. Remember, we only touch x min, x max, y min, y max. The rest we do not touch at all. So we're going to go down to the y max. So go arrow down until you are in the y max category, and you just go type. So basically 10 units up is all you're seeing. From the origin, 10 units up is all you're seeing in terms of your y. Let's go ahead and double that. It's going to be intuitive, like you're going to have to use your intuition right here. So it's a little frustrating for some of us. The idea is don't go too high because then the graph becomes really small, but also make sure you see more than just the y-intercept. So let's try this and type in 20. So you go 20 and hit enter or else it's not going to work. So hit enter and now the 20 is in the system. Okay. As soon as you hit 20, so it should be -10, 10, -10, 20. So hit graph now. And because we have like 10 is right about here, like if you can actually count the little markings. So now we've increased it to 20. So you're actually seeing more above the x-axis than you're seeing below. And there it is, right? There's your y-intercept, there's your x-intercept, and so now we're good, okay? I'm gonna do this, okay? It should start making a bit more sense to you. So we're gonna set our window. We're gonna just write down what it is that we put down. So x min, x max, right? That's what we have. If you're not sure, you press window, right? X min, x max in that order, and then y min, y max next. So -10, 20. So that's what we used for our window to make that graph appear, and it's all nice. Everything fits on there. Now, what if Mr. Dirksen had not told you what to put in here, right? It's 20. What if you had put in 30? Would that have mattered? Let's try it. I'm going to type in 30, hit enter. So my Y max, I go from 20 to 30. I'm going to hit graph again. Not a big deal. It's just that you're now seeing a little bit more that way above the x-axis, and that's fine. So the window is not set in stone, but you do need to change it so that you start seeing the intercepts for sure. Okay. All right. So that's what we did for we graphed it on our calculator. We're good. So now triple I, okay, that's going to be the, you know what, I'm going to turn off the front lights here. I think that would be better. 1 second. I think that'll be better for you. Okay, so let's try to triple I, right? Find all intercepts. That's what triple I says. Okay. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to do the following. Okay. We're going to go second. Sorry, I might change the order here, folks. So sorry about that. To find the x-intercept, we need to do something first. So erase this, please, because the order is very important, or else it won't work. You type in y2, we're going to type in 0. Then we're going to go second. Just follow me right now. Second, trace 5, and 5 stands for intersect. And then we're going to hit enter 3 times. But that I'm not going to write down because that's not part of your step. So that's going to be, those are going to be basically, that's going to be the requirement, except for the square brackets. Later on, we're not going to put those down. But this is how you would find your x-intercept. So make sure you copy this down, and then we're going to try it together using our calculator. Okay. Okay. All right. So I trust that you've copied it now. So we're going to go to y equals. Go back to y equals. Press the y equals button. Y2, you go arrow down to Y2. Right? You type in 0. Okay? Remember that y equals a number, it's actually a horizontal line. So we're actually graphing the line y is equal to 0, which is a horizontal line that is traveling along the x-intercept. So these are the 2 entries you should have. Press graph now. Everybody press graph. And that's the beauty of these calculators. It's a colored screen. So you actually see the y equals 0 line right here. Okay, this is our original line. This is the y equals 0 line. And you're always going to have to type that one in because it's where the red and the blue meet. That is technically the x-intercept of this line here. That's what we're after, and graphing the red line always allows you to find that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go second. As soon as you press second, you see this arrow going up here. If you press it again, it's gone. Okay, so second, trace, and you can just press 5 for intersect. So press 5. And it's important that you start with this screen with the graph, and then you go second, trace 5, or else it won't know where to go. Okay. So watch what it's asking you for. It's a series. This is when you're in computer science. This would make a little bit more sense to you. But it's saying first curve, which is y1. You're on it. The cursor is on it. If you go sideways, like arrow sideways, we're going to go a little closer to the intersection we're after. That is close enough. So I went arrow left to get me as close as possible to this point. So it's still asking for first curve. So what you need to do is As soon as you get close to that intersection you're after, you press enter, okay? So everybody, now it's asking first curve. We are on the first curve. We get close, but not right on it. It will do the job for you, okay? Press enter. As soon as you press enter, it jumped to the second curve. And believe it or not, it follows you. Like if you're traveling as close as possible to that intersection, it's also following you along. So they're basically lined up, and that will always be the case. So you just press enter again. It's saying like, give me a point on the second curve, and you just hit enter. And guess is, it's basically just, it's always going to show up, okay? Guess is just like, give me a starting point. And I never tell students to like move sideways or anything. I just say press enter. Every time it says guess, just press enter. So let's go ahead and press enter. And now it found the intersection. It found the intersection, right? Intersection is found at -5, 0. Okay, so we find that the x-intercept is -5, 0. The 0 we already expected. It's the -5 that we work towards right now. Okay, and don't worry, we'll do it a bunch of times, so just hang in there. Okay, now next we're going to find the y-intercept. And I know this is a little redundant, okay, because you already know what the y-intercept is. It's 0, 15. But trust me, even in grade 12, like sometimes it's going to be trickier to find the intercept. So I still want you to know how to do it, okay? The y-intercept, this is how you find it. You go second, trace, which is really you're accessing the calculate, right? Second trace 1 for value. And as soon as you do that, it's going to ask you, what x value would you like me to find the y value for? And we're going to let x equal to 0. And it bases this, it will base it depending on which equation you're on. Okay, so I'm going to go up and down arrow just to wake up my screen. As soon as you press the arrows, folks, it gets you away from the intersection. If you wanted to find it again, you would have to go through the whole steps again. So second, trace 5, and it actually is right on it, but you would just hit, because you're so close, you just keep hitting enter, 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 and it finds the intersection again exactly where you want it to be. But as soon as you move the arrows, it's gonna change it, so you'd have to redo it. Now it's pretty obvious, but down the road it will be decimals, right? So you want to make sure you're right on the intersection. Don't estimate, right? No estimations here. It has to be exact. Anyways, let's find our y-intercept, which is up here. It's done differently. So let's follow the steps here. Second, trace value. So you press 1 and watch. It's saying, give me an x value. Okay. We're going to x is equal to 0 in this case. So you just hit enter 0 and press enter. And it's actually showing you exactly the point you're finding, which is 0, 15, which is already what we expected. So for a y-intercept, folks, you don't have to do this. You can just, if you've rewritten it, just base it on that. I'm not going to ask you to show me these steps. But moving forward, whenever you are using your calculator, showing your work is going to consist of giving me these buttons that you've pressed. This is essentially showing me how you got there. Okay, that's how you show your work. Okay. So you're thinking, what about this line? Will it think sometimes that this is the line we're after? Well, you could find out, okay? When x is equal to 0, it's y is equal to 15 for this line. But what about the other line we just graphed? Okay, this is what you do. Up and down jumps between the various lines that show up here. So since the line is underneath it, I would go arrow down. So everybody press arrow down. It's going to show you when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0 on this line, which makes sense. It's right there. And if you keep going arrow down, it's just going to cycle through the equations you have in there. Because remember, we have y2. It's up here. That's the red line. If you go arrow down, it's going to go y1, which is this line right here. If you had 3 equations and you kept going arrow down, it would cycle through all of your equations, okay? So it's don't go sideways. Sideways will remove this setting. You just want to go up and down. You're basically jumping from one equation to the other. But this one right here is not one that we actually graph. We're interested in this one. The only reason we graphed the red one is so that we could find our x-intercept by using the intersect function. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see if I fit this in here. So the fourth thing is find the y value when x is equal to 7. That is very similar to the y-intercept. So basically what you will do here is second trace, and we're going to do value again. I'll show you, this will get less tedious as we move on, okay? Second trace value, x is now going to be equal to 7. So whenever you are given an x value, you want to go second trace 1. And you're going to enter the x value that is known to you, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Second trace 1. It's asking you again, what x value would you like me to start with? We're going to go 7. And then we're going to hit enter. And I hope that this issue shows up, okay? 7, when x is 7, y is equal to 36. So we can actually write that down here, comma, y is equal to 36. You've shown me that. And this is actually what we're going to box in because that's what the question was asking. But are you seeing it on your screen? You are not, right? Because think about it. When x is equal to 7, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's right there, right? That's not a problem. Like the x value isn't too big, but the y value is 36. And we had set our y max to, was it 30 or 20? Did I change it? I think I changed it. 30, yeah. Okay, thank you. So what we're going to do is go back to our window. So that's where the window comes in. Press window. And your y max should be set to at least, I would say 40 or 50. It's up to you. But 40 goes beyond the 36. You don't want to stop at 36, right? And once you've done that, you hit enter to make sure it's in the system. You've entered that 40, and then you hit graph again. And now you will, unfortunately it's gone, but we already know x736. But let's go through these steps again. Second, trace 1, x is equal to 7, hit enter, and now it will actually appear on your actual graph. And again, it's basing it on this line, the y1. That's where you're on. If you wanted to find it for the other line, because the other line could also be a diagonal line, you just have to know which line you're working with. If you go arrow down, it's still 0, right? Y is always equal to 0. No matter what x value you put in here, it's still 0 for the second line. So it's good to know, though. It's good to practice which line should appear. Perhaps I should show you this too, okay? So let's say you don't want the red line to be there. It's bothering you because we only needed it for the x-intercept. If you press y equals, you can either clear that, but let's say you want to keep it there for the future. You just go left onto the equal sign, and as soon as it's blinking there, you hit enter, and it will deselect it, right? It's now not selected. If something isn't selected, if it doesn't have the equal sign highlighted, and let's say you hit graph now, it will not graph those equations, right? It will only graph the ones that are highlighted under your y equals. So that's important to remember, okay? Now let's do the other one here. Let's see if that fits in here. I would like that to fit onto this page. I might have to do it here, folks. Okay. So 5 is here. It's saying find the x value. I'm going to go back up to read so you can see it. Find the x value when y is equal to 10. That's when you use you actually have to go and make y2 equal to 10. So it's done differently. You can't do it the same way as if you're given an x value. When you're given a y value, you want to enter that equation, or that, in this case, it's y equal 10 line, into y2, and then you want to go second, trace, and it's intersect, right? It's the fifth option for intersect. And that's how we're going to find the x value. So we're going to already say, okay, we're going to find it after typing in those series of buttons. So press y equals. I'm going to let you write it down first. Make sure you have that written down. So you can, let's remember, whenever you want to, if you want to quit this screen, go to your home screen where you can do a bunch of calculations. You go second mode, takes you back to home. If you want to see the graph again, just press graph. If you want to enter more equations or check if your equations are right, you press y equals. And then back to graph. Like, you can jump between y equals and graph and window and graph. Like these buttons up here like take you to different places, okay? But if you want to go to your home screen, second quit does that, okay? Now, let's type in y equals, right? And then we're going to go to y2 and make that 10. Because we're gonna graph that line. Watch what's gonna happen. If you press graph now, so y2 is equal to 10, because we know that y is equal to 10. We want to know the x value for this line though, right? That's the line we're really looking at. So hit graph, and you should see a second line that is y equals to 10 line, right? That's a horizontal line, and it's cutting the diagonal line, right? So to find that, we go second, trace, intersect, right? The fifth option. So I'm going to press 5. And basically, folks, another secret now, okay? You only have 2 curves, 2 lines. You can literally just press enter, 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 enter like 3 times, and it will always find it. It's when you start having more than 2 lines where you have to actually like go close to the intersection. So, well, let's stick to the point. Like I told you, get as close as possible. So left, then you go enter, then it jumps to the second curve, which is already close enough to the intersection. Enter, and enter again. And there it is. negative, what's the negative? 1.67. Okay, we're going to round to 2 decimals. So let's write it down, negative 1.67. And that's my answer to that question. I didn't have to change my window because it's already there. It's all good, okay? But you may have had to change your window. It depends on where it is, right? If they had asked you for the x value and y is equal to 100, well, 100, obviously, based on our window settings, right? If you go to window, the maximum you're going to be able to see is 40. So you'd have to change that to 120 or something like that. I'm going to go back to graph and so you see that. Okay, so this is the first equation. We went through all these steps. So we're going to do the same thing now for the second equation for B. Okay, so this is designed for you to do A and then for you to do B. So this is recording, as it is recording, and we have 20 minutes left. So I'm going to try to get through that one yet. And then I'm going to give you a bunch to write down and try on your own. Okay. So let's do B here. 1B, and we're going to do I first. And I look at that equation, and I'll write it down because I really don't like when you make signs mistake because the sign is off. So this 3x comes over, right? So it'd be negative 5y is equal to positive 3x plus 100. We're going to divide both sides by negative 5, whatever is in front of the y, right? So y is equal to negative 3 over 5x. 100 divided by 5 is 20, but it will be negative 20, right? So this is what we're after. Okay, Mark, I'm going to try to get it done. Technically, whoever your teacher should know it's 210, okay? You can feel free to tell your other teacher. Okay, I guess they don't give you breaks because you're home. Let's do this, okay? So what we're gonna do is press y equals. We're gonna clear everything that's there. Okay. Do we always round to 2 decimals? The answer is yes. 2 decimals, even if it's repeating decimals or whatnot, we round to 2 decimals. If you want to round to 3, like anything more than 2 is fine as long as you do it correctly. Okay, that's I'm getting you ready for grade 12 applied. You can do more than 2, but it has to be done correctly. Okay, but 2 is the minimum most of the time. Okay, not they'll tell you otherwise. Okay, typing this in is a little tricky. Okay, folks, that's why I picked one with a fractional slope. Okay, and not only fractional, it has a negative. So remember, the negative, the leading negative always has to be done with this negative symbol here, not the subtract. After, when you see negatives, you can do the subtract, okay? So let's type this in. This is how I do it, and I would recommend you do it, okay? Open bracket, I will go negative 3 divided by 5, close bracket. So you're essentially you're making sure you have a negative 3 over 5, which is 0.6, right? Negative 0.6, but we'll just keep it as a fraction. Don't round there if it's a fraction, okay? And then x, so that's negative 3 over 5x. Now you use the minus. It's minus 20. If you use negative 20, it will think that you're multiplying all of this by negative 20, okay? You want to use the minus to subtract. So now this is one term and this is another term subtracted by the using the subtraction symbol between the two. Okay, and let's hit graph. So negative, which is always a little shorter and higher up, versus the subtract, which is like right in between. Okay, hit graph, and you don't see anything, which is what I wanted to happen. Okay, because that's the number one panic button that I get from students. Okay, nothing wrong. It's still grafted. What we're gonna do here, this is in general, we want to go zoom 6. Okay, what's zoom 6 gonna do? It's gonna get you back to the standard window, which is -10 to 10, -10 to 10. Okay, -10 to 10, -10 to 10. It's like back to the origin. So zoom 6, and you still won't see anything. Okay, now you got to look at your equation. You're going to be like, okay, I know that this is my y-intercept. So this graph is, first of all, it's decreasing, right? So it's, let's put a little, we know that it's going down because it's a negative slope, right? It's going down because of a negative slope, right? Negative slope. And the y-intercept is -20. So those two pieces of information, just by looking at the graph, you know that your y, what is this? This is y determined by your y min. Okay, so don't change too many things at the same time. We're gonna change this y min. So press window. Let's go to y min. We're gonna change that to, you can either just scroll over to and type, I'm gonna go -30. If you type in minus, like watch what's gonna happen if you use the subtraction symbol. I think it's gonna complain, so watch this. Yeah, syntax error, doesn't like that. I'm gonna press number 2. Usually it tells you what it doesn't like, and it doesn't like the minus, right? So I'm gonna replace that with a negative. -30, there it is. So y min is -30. I'm not touching anything else. Hit graph. And there it is, right? It is there. So that was our first step. Like, let's try to find our y-intercept. Okay, we did that. We are still not seeing our x-intercept, which is like somewhere, if I were to continue this line, it would be somewhere over here. Okay, so what do we have to do? What value would we have to change here? We would have to change this limit, which is set by the x min, right? The lowest x value. You want to go further this way. So we're going to go to our window, change the x min. I jump the negative and I just go straight to the number. I'm going to go and say -30 as well. Okay. And hit graph. So now we're at -30 for x min, and same with y min. It's just coincidence. They will be different at times. Is that enough? It still wasn't enough. Okay. It still wasn't enough. So no problem. You go back to your window. X min, let's go 50. Okay. Just to be safe. I'm not going to just go up by 5s or whatever. Let's go a little further than that. And let's press graph again. And now you should be seeing both intercepts. All right. And notice that your origin is here, so you're seeing more to the left and more to the bottom because the x min and the y min has been reduced. All right. So we're going to write down our window here for double I. We're going to say that we had -50 to 10 and we had -30 to 10. So it's always x min, x max, y min, y max. Okay. And now let's try the third point, which is What is it asking me? All the intercepts. So I'm going to find the x-intercept first. And how am I going to find that? So study sheet maybe, right? I'm going to make my y2 equal to 0, and then I'm going to use the intersect. Second trace intersect. I think later on you're just going to put down 5. I know what it is, so that's just fine. Okay, so y equals, I'm going to go a little faster here. Y equals, y2 is equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and hit graph. I see that it was graphed. Now I'm going to find the intersection between these two lines. So second trace 5. I'm going to go a little closer, so I'm going to go arrow left on the first curve. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, enter, and enter again, and watch that. I'm at negative 33.33, and obviously my y is equal to 0. So notice that when you know your y, you enter that into y2 and you go second trace intersect. When you know what the x value is, then you go second trace 1 and hit enter the x value, giving you the y value. That's basically the pattern. Okay. The fourth point is when x is equal to 7. Oh wait, I didn't find the y-intercept. I'm trying to rush here. Y-intercept. When you do the y-intercept, you know what x is, right? So second trace 1, x is equal to 0. We know that's supposed to be negative 20. We're still going to go through the motions here. So second trace 1, x is equal to 0, y is equal to negative 20. Watch there, right? So you found the x-intercept, y-intercept. And the fourth item, and here we go. We know what x is, so we go second trace 1, x is equal to 7. So second trace 1, x is equal to 7. And it happens to be on my screen. That's great. Negative 24.2. So essentially, you found the point, folks. If I wanted the coordinates of the point, you found this point on the line by doing this. Okay, you knew this. You had to find the y. Okay. Fifth, we need to find when y is equal to 10. So when you are given the y value, you go ahead and type that into y2, and it's second trace 5. Okay. So I'm going to go y equals to, I'm going to type in 10. This could be negative 20, 30, whatever. It is what it is. And then, and it's, watch, it's like, because the y max is right at 10, it's just on the edge. So what I would do is I would go window and increase my y max to 20. And even your x min could have been put further this way, but let's see what happens. Second trace 5. We're going to go as close as possible. You can just press and hold your left arrow here. That's close enough. Hit enter, enter, enter. And so it's negative 50, 10. So basically, x is equal to negative 50. So you found the point negative 50, 10. So really, there's only two functions that you're using. You're either using second trace 1 or second trace 5. If you want to use second trace 5, the y value has to be put into y2. All right. Okay, so I think we're gonna stop it there. And I'm gonna ask you to write these ones down and try them on your own. I'm gonna continue tomorrow with questions 2 and 3 yet, finding intersections and whatnot. Okay, so here it is. Take a screenshot if you feel like you're gonna run out of time. Take a screenshot of this. I mean, I'm gonna record this and also post the video. And if your head is spinning a little bit, folks, hang in there. Okay, it gets easier as we go. Right?